so he couldn't make it with us. So I'll try to do his presentation justice. I'll move on. We're going to talk about identification, spread, and some other issues. I'll try to, if I can, link it in with a few comments that was made by Bonnie. Identification is crucial when it comes to pest management. In a nutshell, it's a standard-looking aphid, and there are about 4 species on Sorghum aphid, sorghum, fairly relevant. And this one's distinctive in that it has very brown cornicles. Growers sometimes refer to them as stovepipes, and very dark feet or tarsi. And then here's the perspective of the 4 different species, and Sugarcane aphid is on the bottom left. And even at this broadened out view, you could really see that black cornicles or star parts and the blackness to the tarsi or the feet. Robert likes to note that, and I think this is courtesy of David Ragsdale or other folks, keepers of aphidville out there. Note that there's a mixed colony here. It is in an explosion phase, and there are winged ones. Notice the dark armature, the sclerotization to hold those wings so they could flap. And then there is a circled one that will show developing wing pads, and you can see the wing pads right there developing. Within a few days, if not the next day, that will be a winged aphid. No, a few days. As Bonnie alluded to, so we got a picture of the geographic range. This is strictly in 2014, 1 year. Late, see, late, August, toward the end of the year. And now I can see it better. It was impressive. The previous year, it was just in mostly South Texas, 3 states in Mexico, a few locations up near the Red River, one county in Oklahoma, and one county, up and down the Louisiana, and one county in Mississippi. So this year, though, so you can look at that range expansion the first year. Here's the second year, late August. Here is just during a time period of something, a very important event happened. This is all Robert. Wind. Bonnie mentioned wind and movement. Sometimes we don't have rain. We have an aphid rain, and there is good suspicion that Robert has worked with our local meteorologist and show these projections. This front moved in, synced well with a progression of aphid infestation in Georgia. I never thought a year ago that you would see it over there that quick. Although Bonnie has shared with me some lessons about previous very large aphid range expansions. More blue circles, more expansions in September than we did not anticipate. You have more patterns of more expansions into Georgia, up into South Carolina. And look at what happened here. The wind blows. And anyone working off of the Texas coast know we have good winds. And depending upon the high, they go east, they go west, they go up to the high plains. It was an amazing happening. We were not expecting that necessarily. We were hoping that it wouldn't occur at all. But you could see, at least from a late season point of view, as Bonnie mentioned, the wind blow. And aphids are not strong flyers, but they're very light in weight. They get a little lift, and off they go. And finally, in November 10, you have the full circuit of one of the most of recent history, not all the way back to greenbug history, but of recent history, a very impressive range expansion, not only from 2013 to 2014, but within about a 4-month period of time in 2014. Damage. And I also want to note, all these recordings on damage are on sorghum. Bonnie mentioned, she said in South Africa, sugarcane aphid on sorghum. I believe, Bonnie, you mentioned, but not on sugarcane. Other parts of the world on sugarcane. Bonnie also mentioned the genetics look about the same in these different areas. But I am not a geneticist. I don't know the history of green bug and biotype coding. I believe that is in regard to some host plant screening aspects, but something very interesting is going on here. We're talking about sugarcane aphid on sorghum. That's where that major expansion occurred. Sugarcane aphid on sugarcane has been in the country for quite some time in selected areas in Louisiana and I believe also Florida. So this is a sorghum beast that is the same nomenclature but different biology. Quickly, with very nice information reported by colleagues throughout. David Kearns gave this history. Percent acreage infested, as I'm going to focus on, and percent of the acreage treated. You can read the rest yourself. 100% of the acreage infested at some point. 75% of that acreage was treated with an insecticide at least once, and this is occurring in 2014. Kathy Flanders, wonderful, from Alabama. 100% of the acreage infested at some point. That was late, but it was infested. 75% of that acreage was treated at least once. That's not a bad thing, by the way. When you have an expansion like this, very respectful treatment, saved a lot of money, and we're going to have a few snapshots of money-saving things. In fact, a la Tom Royer, here is an example. We had some missing blanks. Tom could report for us more furtherly in a session we have at the end of the thing, but he did an estimate of yield savings due to selected insecticide sprays of that. It was found throughout Oklahoma. Again, found this year. Angus Katchat provides these estimates. 100% of acres infested with sugarcane aphid, 70% sprayed at least once. If you all know Mississippi area, that is impressive range expansion in the Delta area and throughout the state. Georgia, David Bunting was not counting on this occurring, and then he had to deal with it. We all, I think, networked fairly well. There's a listserv, a task force was created, and he was able to survive this year working with growers. Everyone survived well. People weren't happy about a new severe pest coming in, but they were able to anticipate it and react in one of the first types of tools, IPM tools that are available, and that is insecticides. 90% of the acreage infested, 80% sprayed. Next, cider, Arkansas, very similar theme. And here we finally get the Robert reports in Texas with all his Texas colleagues. You can see the expansion. About 60% of the acres infested. That is inclusive of both South Texas and North Texas. Percent of the acreage, inclusive of all that, is 35% of the acreage. I think he may have a little bit breakdown in showing North versus South Texas. Bonnie mentioned that this seems to be something of a subtropical, tropical type aphid. This would suggest and validate that as well. Looking at just South Texas, only 100% of the acreage infested. We have loss estimates of 60% of the acreage was sprayed once or more. Down in the Rio Grande Valley where Raoul's at, that was just about 100% of the acreage was sprayed. And there was working with Mr. Wayne Cleveland and others, the estimates of yield savings are far-reaching, but it's certainly plentiful. And good reaction time, and people, by and large, there were some outright crop failures, but a lot of timely sprays. So in the nutshell, this gives you the damage estimates, and Robert, working with his colleagues, are working on the savings estimates. You're just seeing cost for a treatment here, monetary loss, and then the savings. So the monetary loss total, 46 million estimated, and just in one zone alone, you could see here in South Texas, the savings, that is The prevention of loss are dramatic with timely insecticide use, as Bonnie mentioned. We can get better, possibly, but what's very nice is that there's a good start, and people did not, that very impressive range expansion did not translate over into excessive yield loss. It translated over, fortunately, with some wonderful out-on-the-ground people that was listed, into a pretty nice near-term reaction to the problem. So here's the nutshell of it. Impressive range expansion. I hope I'm doing this slide justice. Gosh, I think there's time maybe for a question or two. I went through this quickly, but I hope efficiently. I want to end that. I will call this the on-the-ground team. These are folks that are there. They have real jobs. They had plenty of work to do, and they responded to a new issue and communicated effectively. And I guess the theme here is that they did great work in a near-term addressing of the problem, substantial reaction to avoiding a potential dramatic loss. And many of these folks are now organizing to see what's next, the next phase of appropriate manage, to bring in biological controls, to work with the breeders on sorghum resistance, et cetera.